Now, you've just sat through a long closed session which produced some fairly damning indictments of both the structures and the practices in A4e and in Working Links, and gave several indications of possible fraud. There's some evidence has been submitted to us as well, to the Chair, by the people who gave evidence in that closed session. Will those allegations be investigated?
They will be investigated if they're put in front of me. Since it was a closed session and you were alleging that there were damning allegations made, let me simply record for the record
well,
that
it sounds damning to me. I like that on the record too.
No, I think they did indeed sound damning, and the thing I have asked the committee to consider carefully is to be really clear when you consider them which programme they were talking about and which year they were talking about, because it is not my position to actually argue that past contracts had flaws in them. That is why we have improved, as the PAC would expect us to.
It's not your position to argue that they didn't have flaws in.
Did I miss a negative?
I think you did. But that's what you meant.
Can I just... Well, hang on, let me just follow this through, because this is an area of difficulties, because you've got to check, I'm talking about the new arrangements now. You've got to check that placements were in fact secured, that people got to them, that went to them, that they stayed with them. A lot of checking there. You've got to check whether they're part-time jobs or partial jobs or full-time jobs. There's a lot of potential for argument and fraud. You've got to take account of people who would have got jobs anyway, which is bound to be a substantial proportion of the people who go to these agencies. So it is an area of some difficulty.
But I'm afraid it's essential
you've got that wrong, I'm afraid. Checks be tight, and you have confidence in the structures of the companies which are doing the placement, and in your ability to check that they've actually been taken up. Now, after what you've just heard, and after the kind of evidence that's, well, been in private eye from time to time, look at the message in today's, where the records for the disabled people New Deal for 2007 to 8 were found on a desk in an abandoned on a tip, and they show that there were claims every month for sums between 400,000 and $1 million, for which you were routinely rejecting about 20,000 at a time without investigation. You rejected them, where they were double claiming and all sorts of mistaken claims. Now, that's the nature of the companies which emerges. So are you satisfied, after what you've heard, of their control structures, their audit systems, their propensity to create a culture in which pressure pushes employees lower down the scale into fraud, that these are fit and proper companies to be doing the very important job, and the job which I think is right to do with the new arrangements? Are you satisfied with that those are fit and proper companies?
The most important piece of learning which my department has taken out of their investigation of past contracts is that over-reliance on contractors' internal systems is a mistake. As a consequence, we now have a system where actually it's very difficult to actually get payment out of my department on anything other than evidence which I personally can test. So let me repeat, because it's actually in the report, but I'm not sure everybody's read it. For the work programme, I'm sorry to keep coming back to it, but this is the £5 billion programme you're now worried about. The only way you can get a payment from my department now is first, when you submit the claim, that actually I can demonstrate that the individual you've claimed for has indeed been of benefit for the whole period that you've actually claimed for. Secondly, I then go and check a sample of those against the HMRC's records of whether that individual was indeed in work. If they fail either of those two claims, I do not pay.
That's true, but you've also a vested interest in soft-touch investigation. The question wasn't whether you've got new arrangements, it's whether you're satisfied
they're fit and proper.
Those companies are fit and proper to do the job.
Just answer yes or no to that one. All you need is a yes or no to that question.
Sorry, I'm answering the way I'm doing it because actually this is the right answer to the question. The answer to the question is actually what controls have I got in place? Right? I've told you.
So is A4e fit and proper to undertake the work programme?
A4e is a contractor of ours, and it's subject to the controls that we have put in place, which makes me satisfied as accounting officer that I am not wasting taxpayers' money.
Well, we'll come back to that.